Good evening, everyone. Severe Other Team 9 meteorologist Nathan Shutt joining you for this edition of Nate at 8. And coming our way, what are we going to be talking about? Well, for tomorrow, not too bad. I mean, it's still cold for Friday, but there are a couple of factors that will make it not quite as cold as it was for today. The big one being the wind speed. So we finally see these winds diminish tonight. Light variable wind for Friday. So, those wind chills very prevalent here over the past couple of days, and not going to be for your Friday. So not as cold, still cold, but not as, very cold as it has been, especially with these wind chills as of recent. Temperatures on their way towards freezing, just above freezing Friday. And when we deal with a light variable wind, it's going to feel right around the actual air temperature. So we'll feel much warmer with respect to here as of recent. So quiet Friday, but as soon as Saturday comes snow, and we're going to be watching a Clipper system diving into our area. Actually, one of two. The first one arrives tomorrow, but it dives to our south, so it does not hit us. It stays south of us, and likely we're not ending up with any snow from that system. And in fact, I think we can even see less snow than we had for today for your Friday. But come Saturday with the second system, that one's going to be taking aim at us. And in the wake of that, it is very cold on Sunday. And really, as we look at that forecast for next week, even into Christmas Day, the pattern does not look as cold as it's been here so far for this month by next week, and even going towards Christmas Day into the following week, that we can loosen the grip on this very cold pattern for the start of December. So really, you can think of this weekend more as the last hurrah to this cold pattern that we've been in here so far for the month of December. So this weekend can mark the end of it, and going out, what's the cliche? Going out with a bang, right? And that's what we can see for this weekend, with some very cold temperatures. Sunday as highs struggle to even get out of the teens, and quite possibly the most snow that we've had with a system so far for this winter coming our way on Saturday. So that's why I say it could be quite active this weekend. Definitely going to want to keep weather aware as we go throughout the weekend, and don't get caught off guard, especially for Saturday and Saturday night. And of course, we're going to take a further dive into that, what we're watching for here, at least initially for Saturday. Still, obviously not arriving tomorrow, a couple days out yet, but our initial thoughts on what to watch for on Saturday. So our current temperatures now in the 20s. We're not going to budge too much as we go through the night. We did have some of those snow showers throughout this evening. Those are now tapering off here early tonight, and really just more on the order of some flurries now, continuing for the overnight hours. And even a lot of what we're seeing right now is likely tapering off for the daytime tomorrow. So that first Clipper system I mentioned, there it is. Notice it's diving to the southeast, and it's staying south of us. But there's a good, amount of snow, at least about 2 to 4 inches, where this is moving across there, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, just staying south of us, not going to be impacting us. But that is one of two. It's a rapid fire of these systems. And again, it's that second one that's going to be taking more of a direct hit for us. So notice for Friday, as Futurecast is showing, not going to be tracking any snow from that. In fact, we can get some clearing in our skies. So if we can get a little bit of sunshine on top of a light variable wind, it will certainly feel warmer tomorrow with respect to today. Highs mid-lower 30s Friday afternoon. Skies then turn cloudy for Friday night out ahead of that system for your Saturday. It's possible that we see a few snow showers even by Saturday morning. We can wake up to some, just as Futurecast is showing. Same story into midday. But the core of this snow is centered into the latter part of Saturday. So we'll watch even in the early afternoon. This is when the snow will likely start to break out. So, around midday, quite possibly not until about 1, 2 o'clock. The early afternoon is when the snow will likely begin. And from here is when it'll likely pick up in intensity as we have fast forward just a little bit further. So especially closer towards the sunset and then on into the first half of Saturday night is when we're likely noticing a lot of this snow fall, even up towards midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. From there, the snow will begin to taper off. And as you can see, still some snow showers that can be in place lingering into our Sunday, but the more widespread snow has come to an end. Still some snow showers on Sunday with these bands coming off of the Great Lakes, and we can see some additional snow accumulations throughout the day Sunday, especially likely more towards Columbiana County, we get a lot of those bands more Columbiana County, clipping portions there of Hancock, Jefferson, taking more towards Pittsburgh, Robinson area. So if you do have plans on even traveling Sunday as well, keep that in mind. If you're going north towards Youngstown, Cleveland, Columbiana County in general, a little further east towards Pittsburgh, Robinson, where these areas that can pick up more of these bands off of the lakes, that we can get some additional snow accumulations on Sunday as well. It's not going to be widespread for our area. For most of us, it's not much, if any, additional snow accumulation Sunday, but there's that little fine print to Sunday as well to just keep in mind as well, that we can still see some snow showers that could deliver some additional light accumulations in spots, something to note for on Sunday. But for us, again, the bigger impact is going to be on Saturday into Saturday night. It's this time around, it's not that wet, heavy snow. This is the dry, more powdery or fluffy snow. So it's, thankfully, when we are doing the cleanup, that it's not as heavy and a pain to clean up afterwards. This is a much lighter, dry snow, because temperatures are going to be into the 20s to teens for a lot of the time the snow is falling. Same story then, teens for throughout the day on Sunday as the snow continues to fall. Then it's that very dry, fluffy snow. And that being said, whenever we see snow fall, when our temperatures are in the 20s to teens, it does not take as much total precipitation or liquid to equate to a lot more snow. So this could be those sneaky situations where we don't need a whole lot of precipitation out of these systems to deliver a lot of snow. Typically for us, when we're talking about clipper systems, typically we're dealing with the potential there for a few inches of snow. And that's really all we typically get. 2 to 4 is pretty much the max for a lot of these clipper systems. But the part with this, with the temperatures being colder, we can squeeze out a bit more snow than what we typically with a clipper system. And again, the heaviest snow likely in line more in the evening to the early night. And we'll obviously fine tune the timing going into it on Saturday tomorrow. But right now, the thinking is more towards the evening and early night is when we'll see the heaviest snow, but it even breaks out into the early afternoon. So that all being said, how much could we be looking at? Well, I think at the minimum, we're dealing with a couple inches of snow, but we are likely going to deal with more than that, more in the range of about 3 to 5 inches of snow. And as confidence does increase tomorrow leading into Saturday, I think it's possible we can bump that range up a bit more. Again, we can see a little bit more than we typically get with these clipper systems because of the snow ratios, how cold these temperatures are going to be when the snow is following. And yes, we can get these locally high amounts. If we get some of these heavier snow bands setting up with these high snow ratios, these can be those sneaky systems where some of us can pick up a lot of snow. And yes, there could be some locations that even exceed 6 inches, possibly upwards of 7 inches of snow. That looks to be kind of the maximum right now, the potential. Again, some of us can sneak in some of those high amounts, not anticipating widespread amounts to that extent, but where we see some heavier bands set up within this system, we can sneak in some higher amounts for some locations. But for a lot of us, we're under that threshold. A good 3 to 5 inches is where a lot of us likely are. And again, we may have to bump this up. It wouldn't be by much, but if we gain a little more confidence, maybe we could bump this up to more of that 4 to 6 range. But right now, 3 to 5 is a good range where a lot of us can end up. And again, we can sneak in a little more than what we typically get. And this can be our biggest snow producer so far for the season, arriving with a lot of this falling again Saturday afternoon into Saturday night, but and more so towards closer to sunset. So more late afternoon, evening, and then on into early Saturday night. So in terms of road conditions, how does this equate, right? This is obviously, this is the most important aspect of the forecast, right? How are the roads going to be? I mean, we got to travel. How are they going to be? Well, watch for some slick spots in the early afternoon. So when that snow starts to break out around noon, early afternoon, noon, 1, 2, this is, the point where we can start to see the roads get slick, at least in spots. And from there, the roads do likely just get slippery that late afternoon time frame. And then when the snow can pick up a bit more is when we can even bump it up to more some hazardous road conditions where a lot of our area roads are snow covered. Crews can't keep up with the snow, right? They're obviously working hard and round the clock. They just can't keep up with the snowfall. And we can end up with a lot of area roads snow covered into that period of the evening and a lot of the overnight hours. Now, by the time we get towards 8 a.m., again, even by 4 a.m., on Sunday, it looks like a lot of this snow is tapering off. We still have some snow showers, but that widespread snow starts to taper off. But there, of course, can be the latency between the time the snow ends and the time that crews can get out and treat more of these roads. So with that latency, taking into consideration, we'll see improvements likely into Sunday morning, especially on our main roads as crews are getting out and, are able to keep up with the snow more. Snow showers continue, still watch for some slick spots. I would say that can continue into much of Sunday, at least the potential for some slick spots, but we'll likely see some improvement in road conditions then by Sunday morning after the snow tapers off late on Sunday night. But still, if you are going out to church Sunday morning, in general, anywhere Sunday morning, you still want to allow yourself extra time to get to your destination and play it safe, because obviously there still could be, especially some of these back roads can still be quite slick into Sunday morning before even some of these back roads see a further improvement as we go throughout the day. But that's when to watch. When the afternoon roads are getting slick, by the evening they're more hazardous. That'll be that way for likely a lot of the night. And when we're in that range, if you don't have to be out, just don't, right? It's best just to stay home if you can, and don't go out in it unless you absolutely have to. Now, if you do, need to get out this weekend for anything, if you can center it around the first half of Saturday or the second half of Sunday, right, as crews can get more chance to help clean up these roads throughout the day Sunday, or especially before it really breaks out Saturday morning. There's not much around, even up towards noon. So you do have some window of time this weekend. If you need to get out at any point this weekend, that would be the time frame to do it later on the day Sunday, or going into the first half of Saturday before the snow settles in Saturday afternoon and then continues going into Sunday. Timmy, hello from Wheeling. We get through wanted to break down some of the fine details of the forecast and before we jump into the comments. I appreciate everyone tuning in as always. Also, good evening. Got to see it snow today. It was beautiful to watch while staying inside and warm. Excited for the upcoming snow this week in Austin. Excited for the snow. And again, I think this is the last really hurrah. If you like the snow, this is it. And looking ahead next week, at least here near term, not to say this is it for a long period of time, but at least here near term, this is it, right? With respect to next week and quite possibly even looking ahead into the week leading up to Christmas, that what we do see fall this weekend, it is likely going to melt as we go throughout next week. So, we're going to have to hope for some additional snow after next week, because I just don't foresee anything next week. A lot of it's just going to end up being rain, likely, with our precipitation type. A lot of highs in the 40s next week, closer to 50 on Thursday. A much warmer week with respect to the beginning here of December ahead for next week. Tris, hello from Glendale. Thank you for tuning in. Andrew saying high end for Cambridge, Ohio is 9 inches. That's quite a bit to squeeze out of the system. Probably going to be a little under that, but again, these can be sneaky. I don't think I think that being said, on the high end where it's more isolated and not widespread, we could get some amounts close to it. I don't know if I'd say as high as 9, but again, these systems are a bit sneaky. I do think we can get some very high amounts in spots from this. So again, it's just all more the reason to, if you can, just stay in with the snow, right? Going into Saturday night. And well, likely, we're going to fine tune and even try to pinpoint some areas where we could see some of those heavier bands for tomorrow. Right now, the heavier bands look to be more in line with areas along south of I-70. And if that holds true tomorrow, we'll bring out more of the snow map and we'll, take a further, even deeper dive into it than what we had for today. And we'll be looking at areas to really watch where we can get some of those higher amounts. And of course, I'll fine tune also the actual snow forecast and just overall bring a much finer details to it tomorrow. So make sure to stay tuned for that. As again, we'll try to even further break down that snow coming our way Saturday. Once we are a day out for tomorrow, we can gain a little better confidence in where we could see some of those heavier bands of snow set up where those high end amounts are possible. That definitely can exceed 6 inches. How much above that? It's still a bit of a question, but yeah, definitely can get some high amounts. I think is possible. exceeding 6 inches in some locations. It's just kind of a fine tuning part now of where we could see that set up if it does occur in our area. Penny, hello from East Liverpool. Hello there, Penny. Renee visiting the grocery store to visit the grocery store tomorrow. Not a bad idea. Get what you need for the weekend tomorrow. And again, if not, if you can't get out tomorrow, Saturday morning or later in the day, Sunday. But I will say Sunday's going to be less than ideal to be outside in because those temperatures are in the teens. Yeah, that's why. Really just the full blast of winter here at the end of this cold pattern arrives this weekend, as cold as Sunday is going to be. And the winds are picking up Sunday. So the wind chills are not as much of a factor for your Friday, for your Saturday. But by Sunday, those winds are ramping up. So you do have some blowing, drifting snow. You have some snow showers. So the roads, they'll improve for Sunday. But again, I would still say watch for slick spots throughout the day with blowing, drifting snow, with the potential for some additional snow showers. It's still want to use some caution. The absolute best travel conditions this weekend is going to be the first half of Saturday. That's going to be the best. The worst, again, is likely Saturday evening through Saturday night. That looks to be the worst. Or you could even say into early Sunday morning. That's likely going to be the worst conditions. And then the best is likely that Saturday morning. That's going to be the best conditions we have likely throughout the weekend. And by Sunday, with temperatures teens, wind chills are likely more in the single digits for a lot of Sunday. That's how cold it's going to feel. So it's bundle up if you're heading out Sunday. It's going to be very cold for the second half of this weekend before temperatures do moderate late next week. And yes, we can very well get closer to 50 degrees by Thursday. We'll see our temperatures early next week. With this snow cover, it does typically trend us a little cooler. So we'll see. It's a possibility that highs stay below 40 Wednesday. By Tuesday, maybe we do struggle to get above freezing. That is the case with snow cover, that in the afternoon, it trends us cooler. At night, it trends us cooler. It's another variable with forecasting temperature specifically that we'll see. We could struggle to really warm up quickly early next week, but eventually, once we melt some more of that snow cover, then temperatures can further take off. So even if we don't hit 50 Thursday, we melt that with rain. That snow cover that remains likely is largely melted with the rain on Thursday and highs in the 40s. And then maybe we'll sneak that 50-degree mark then for next Saturday once we have that snow cover likely gone. So it arrives this weekend, but by the end of next week, it's likely going to be gone with the warmer temperatures and the rain. Missy says, I love the snow. Missy, you're going to love this weekend, right? Love this weekend. And it's, thankfully for a lot of us, it's a good timing where it's not during the work week. We can stay inside, don't have to worry about going out and enjoy, maybe doing some, Christmas activities, Christmas movie, maybe doing some present wrapping and enjoying the snow falling. It's almost magical, right? You watch it through the window and watch a Christmas movie, drink some hot cocoa. Am I painting the scene? Am I painting the scene enough that yeah, it's a good evening to stay in. Now, I will be here Saturday, so I will be here. So, we'll have that edition of Nate at 8 obviously tomorrow, but as well on Saturday. So I'll be here at the station throughout the time the snow is falling and be giving you updates even on Saturday. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And yes, we'll have our special edition here of Nate at 8 on the weekend coming up Saturday evening. So I'll be back here with you guys and we'll look at, how much snow we're measuring so far, how it's shaping up to be, the roads, and a lot of things to break down even Saturday as well. Renee, do you think school delays on Monday? And you know what? I do think we could end up having those schools end up being impacted even into Monday, even that far ahead out of it. Temperatures, they're cold. And I will say it is a bit harder for crews to clear our roads when temperatures are that cold. So I think there could be, again, some slick spots even on, especially these side roads, even lingering into Monday. Blowing, drifting snow as well as a factor, some additional snow showers. While a lot of it is likely more north and east of us, some of it can venture into our area. that could deliver some very light accumulation in spots again on Sunday. So I do think there are some variables that, yes, I do think that on Monday schools can be impacted with at least some delays. Honestly, could even be some cancellations. I think that is possible on Monday morning. That yes, schools could still be impacted at that point. With just how cold it is, some lingering snow showers, blowing, drifting snow, some variables that are coming our way. John says, are we finally going to get some deep snow? And I think so, John, especially right now. It looks like, John, if you want that deep snow, the trends right now that are favoring that high end amounts are more near and south of I-70. So if you're tuning in near south of I-70, that's where we're seeing those higher amounts trend right now. And again, that's something that will really pinpoint more so and finalize going into Saturday tomorrow. So right now it looks like a good 3 to 5 inches at least across the area, but that high end potential is there where some locations can get over 6 inches of snow. Yes, I definitely think it's possible with this. It's that dry, fluffy snow. It accumulates a lot more than that wet, heavy snow. We don't need as much liquid to produce a lot of snow. And it could be one of those sneaky systems that are big snow producers. And thankfully, when we have to go clean this up, right, and we don't have to lug around some heavy snow like we have so far for this month, that it's much lighter to clear off the driveway, sidewalks, and even your vehicle parked outside come Sunday into Monday. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, appreciate it. Hope everyone has a wonderful night. Again, tomorrow we get to look forward to less of that wind and wind chill. Not too bad of a way to end the work week, but just brace for impact on Saturday. And of course, stay tuned for the latest coming up. News 9 at 10 on Fox 9. News 9 tonight at 11, bringing the latest on how Saturday is looking to shape up to be, and especially tomorrow, right? Stay tuned tomorrow for that kind of final forecast going into Saturday. We'll be having our next edition of Nate at 8 going into the weekend. Now, we may be streaming, I believe, the Sam Andy Classic. I believe we got some basketball coming up for tomorrow, so that may impact our Nate at 8, but I'll be certainly posting some updates, so make sure to stay tuned. Nathan Shutt News 9 if you're on Facebook, if you more on X, and Shutt WTOV, a couple ways you could find those updates I'll be posting going throughout the day tomorrow. And of course, you could tune in, right? News 9 live at 5, 6, 10, 11. I'll be there throughout tomorrow evening to give you guys the latest. And for the following edition of Nate at 8, which maybe we'll even do a kind of a special early edition as well, going more into the event. We'll see timing wise on how things are setting up to be on Saturday. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. I'll see all of you on the next edition of Nate at 8.